Microphone check 1, 2. Mic check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Welcome in, Linda, Cindy. Yeah, we got a lot to go over, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes.
Big brother trying to mess with my head. He whispers sweet nothing, things better left unsaid. We got our ears to the ground, our eyes wide open and keen. No gaslight, shadows gonna dim our screen. Cheeks, she don't play no games. She calls out all their fake claims. Slow intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed, just facts shouted loud. Slow intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed, just facts shouted loud. Propaganda trying to twist up the truth. They feeding us lies from our childhood youth. But Patrick, he leading the way with the flashlight bright, exposing the darkness and bringing the light. Smooth intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed.
What's up, She Warrior?
Shout it loud. Smooth intuition, we got that vision. No ad hominem allowed. Just facts, shout it loud. They try to divide us with their silly schemes. Break up our squad, break up all of our dreams. But we stick together, strong and true. Sleuth crew coming for you.
Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, and hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. I was having a few issues here with the microphone earlier, so let me know if you can. All right, today we are diving into Abby and Libby's case, where convicted killer Richard Allen is looking to get his case thrown out or possibly receive a new trial. We're going to go ahead and summarize the brief that was recently filed, and we will eagerly await the response from the Attorney General, because he's definitely going to respond likewise. She loved the red background. Thank you. I think we're going to go very gothic in 2026. So I read all 113 pages, ran it through an AI summarizer, and we're going to use that as our checklist. So as we go through, I've isolated some pages from the brief and certain things for the sake of time. Actually, let me pull up this folder I put together for us. So things that we're going to be focusing on specifically will be the tool marks, um, the phone jack stuff. Sometime around 5:30ish a.m. According to the defense, somebody plugged in headphones or something into the phone port. So we'll talk about that. Betsy Blair, and comparing what she saw with Sarah Carbaugh. We'll focus in also on Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall, and specifically the confessions and a little bit of the psychosis stuff. The majority of the appellant brief was about how he was treated in prison and how basically he lost his mind and how Dr. Walla kind of sheepdogged him, kind of herded him into a specific kind of a confession, and how she had control over all of his items, what he did or didn't do. So he was motivated to please her. And with her knowledge of the case, she was using the art of suggestion, I guess, which is interesting. I mean, you can't overlook something like that. So those are the items that we're going to be focusing on today. Sees through, what's up? Let me just make sure I hit on all of this stuff here. Okay, so what is the purpose for an appellant brief? It is to persuade an appeals court to reverse or uphold a lower court's decision by presenting a written legal argument detailing relevant facts and citing supporting laws to show why the client should win the appeal. It's a persuasive document that explains the legal errors made in the trial court and provides the judge with the necessary information to make an informed ruling. So they're going to file this, and then the state of Indiana is going to basically do the same thing, trying to say why his conviction should be withheld. I think this is the new mugshot here. Just the same old look in his eye. So that's what you can expect from today's live stream. We're going to hit on the confessions. We'll talk about Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall as alternative suspects mentioned. Tool marks. Betsy Blair, the phone jack. And we're going to start basically just by summarizing everything that was within the brief and also using it as a checklist as well. So let's get going here. Richard Allen is appealing his convictions and 130-year sentence, arguing that his trial was fundamentally unfair and violated multiple constitutional rights. He asks the Indiana Court of Appeals to reverse the convictions or order a new trial. All right, the three main arguments on appeal. And the majority of the appeal is all the constitutional stuff, and also how he was treated in prison, and how that ultimately led to a confession. So if they can get that to stick, and then trying to also get the search warrant thrown out. Hold on. So, I mean, if they can convince the court, I mean, they might have something here. But remember, all of this is very reminiscent, basically the Frank's Memo 2.0. And When that was released, we got to see, Nick McClelland. He was able to respond and give us details, that kind of were able to argue against that. So the attorney general is going to be doing the same thing. And we'll do a live stream when that is released. All right. The search of Allen's home was unconstitutional. Do you guys agree with that? If you don't, let me know in the chat right now. Because I don't know if it was. I mean, is that probable cause? Hey, I was on the trail and I was kind of dressed like the bridge guy. That's not probable cause. They didn't serve a search warrant with Dave McCain. So what's going on with that? Can't see it getting anywhere, in my opinion. I think there's a possibility, sees through. Not on all the Odinism stuff, like not that. And the brief, they didn't really focus on that. The majority of what I read had to do with the constitutional stuff, which is what those idiots should have been focusing on to begin with, was finding a technicality. Instead, they created this elaborate scheme and focused everything, on that. All of their resources went into their Franks motion and everything that they needed to support it. All comes down. What's up, 95 J Burns? All comes down to the jury. Personally, I don't think I'd be able to remain biased in this case if I were a juror. In what way? Because it really depends on how you see things, right? There's people that think Richard Allen is 100% innocent. Just because the investigation was horrible and just because Nick McClelland is probably corrupt doesn't make Richard Allen an innocent man. Does it make him a man who had his rights violated? It could be. Fruit of a poison tree, right? So I'm just saying it's possible that he gets another trial. And I think maybe he should. I don't think he should. I think Abby and Libby should. Because they're hiding something. I mean, how does a man that confesses to murder not even enter into a trial about a guy being charged with the murder? So he's being charged with the murder that you confess to? Now, how does that work? What's up, Patty? Law enforcement looking for someone that saw a group of girls, probably because right there. What does that mean? Good to see you, Patty. I wonder if they would have asked to search his house prior to a search warrant if Richard Allen would have complied. Well, we know that the tip was not lost. So why didn't they serve the search warrant? Why did they clear him and then make up a fabricated story about losing a tip? They all knew Richard Allen was there. Jerry Holman knew that Richard Allen was there. But for some reason, it's like Richard Allen and Dave McCain, for whatever reason, they were just never talked about. It was almost as if they didn't exist. And even the Reese letters point to Richard Allen and Katie Klein. So you have the Reese letters that were brought up by the defense, but also implicate the man who officially confessed, which is Keegan Klein. So you have letters that mention Keegan Klein, and we know that he is the only person to officially confess, yet they didn't talk about him during the trial. That's mind-blowing. Sees through. That is how the tip stood out to Kathy Shanks. The fact he saw the group of girls he was not about. Well, the thing is, it wasn't lost. Like the information about Richard Allen wasn't lost on some sheet that Kathy found. Jerry Holman was fully aware that a man by the name of Richard Allen was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30, or between 1:30 and 3. He was fully aware that he was interviewed by Dan Doolin. So why did they paint this narrative that it was lost and Kathy was a hero and she chose not to accept the reward? You know, that was her decision. That's all fake. I mean, it's just crazy how, we just go along with it. Like, oh, yeah. That's not what happened. If you look at the evidence that was released to the public, it's proof. If you want to see it, it's right there that Jerry Holman was very aware of Richard Allen. During the 2019 New Direction presser, he's talking about a guy parking at the CPS building, and he knows Richard Allen drives a very similar vehicle. So why aren't they serving a search warrant? What are they looking for? Why are they asking for the driver? Yeah, I kind of hope that he does get another trial. I don't know. Could he face the death penalty? Julie says, I think he is guilty already. If they were to prove some of their methods to catch him, evidence. What's that? Admissible? I already heard the result, so now I wouldn't be able to just wipe that from my mind. Oh, I get what you're saying. So during the appeal, oh, you're talking about the retrial. Okay. If it happens. What did happen with the reward? Exactly. Who got the reward? They made up a story that Kathy found this folder, a lead folder. You know, you have to fill out all of the paperwork and then you submit it. There you go. Somebody cleared that and was like, no, we're not going to talk about that. He's cleared. Well, what about Dave McCain? Nope, he's cleared. And then for whatever reason, it definitely had to do something with Kagan Klein because he was interviewed, confessed. Then they started searching the river. Right after searching the river, they said, screw it. We can't find anything. We have nothing. We got to go get Rick. We know it's Rick. We know it's Ron. And we know it's Kagan Klein. Okay, how are we going to prove that in a court of law? We can't. So now what? Well, we got to salvage what we can. That's Rick. Well, let's play it out, right? They go to the war room. They sit on a round table and they talk about all of the potential outcomes and the different routes they can take. And then they come to the conclusion that, hey, we're screwed. We need this to be a newly discovered tip in order for this to play out in our favor. Right? That's how they got the probable cause. Like, oh, what's this? Oh my God. If we would have had this, we would have had our second interview. Why didn't you have your second interview? Because the truth is, the tip was never lost. There's no way Dan Doolin didn't say, oh, what'd you guys think about Rick? Right? There's no way that Dan didn't sit down with Tony Leggett, Kim Riley, and all these guys talking about Dave McCain and Richard Allen. It's just not possible. And if it is, that's pretty scary. If they didn't talk about those two guys early on, I mean, we got some bigger problems. Okay. So the search of Allen's home was unconstitutional. Allen argues police misled the judge to obtain the search warrant. He might be on it. He might have something there. The detective omitted key facts and changed witness descriptions. Well, they didn't really change any witness descriptions. They just kind of cherry picked, right? Used certain things and interpreted it through their own lens. And that's all they're doing here with this brief here during the appeal, right? It's just like the Franks memo. giving it a one-sided half truth. It's not there to prove anything. It's just there to help create doubt. And I always find that interesting because when you're on the defense and you're filing an appeal, you're allowed to file it in a way that if the prosecution did that during an actual trial, it would be successfully appealed. So I just find it weird that the rules are different for the defense and the prosecution. Like the prosecution, they have to have facts, they have to have probable cause, but the defense, they don't have to have any of that to accuse other people, to throw out crazy narratives, and to call it a constitutional violation or something like that. They can just say whatever they want. Okay, so Allen argues police misled the judge to obtain the search warrant. The detective omitted key facts and changed witness descriptions. I think that might be correct. Witness descriptions of Bridge Guy did not match Allen's age, build, hair, or vehicle, but they never really do, right? Um, so when you hear police say, well, a sketch is not a photograph, what they're saying is there's no reason for Betsy Blair to have remembered the Bridge Guy. You know what I mean? There's no reason for her to have some kind of like photographic memory of seeing some random guy. That's just not the way the mind works, especially if you're not trying to remember it. Just a passing glance. Boom. There's a guy on the bridge. Oh, first, initial thought, he seems young. I'm out of here. Right? No reason to remember it. Short-term memory gone. 2 days later, they're like, okay, what did he look like? Like everything is all kind of jumbled up. You're mixing your memory with solid memories. You're even mixing things from your own past, from different dates, your own bias. You're like completing the rest of the genome, like Jurassic Park, right? You're taking that frog DNA, and then you're getting this fucking Frankenstein of a recollection. So there's no way that she should be able to point at Rick in the court and say, well, that's him. Especially if he has on all these layers. He's kind of got something around his neck. Um, she may have misinterpreted a beanie as curly hair. I mean, you never know. Linda says if you watch him walk and on the first interrogation and the way he's walking on the bridge, it's Richard Allen. I don't know because I feel like Richard Allen is feigning, or I guess, I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Usual Suspects? Where they're looking for this huge, this crime boss, and he's eluded law enforcement for years. Nobody knows what he looks like. Nobody knows who he is. Um, they can't track him down. Well, they're interrogating one of his little flunkies that has a speech impediment and has a disability, and he struggles walking. So he's basically hiding in plain sight. Turns out to be him the entire time, right? And as soon as he leaves the police station, he starts walking fine. He's walking straight, starts walking with a strong stride, and he gets into some fancy limo. Well, that's Rick. Rick's kind of walking into the interrogation room like he's kind of meek. He's got this meager appearance, and he's just kind of like, oh, it's just little old Rick, Probably that's what he did with Dan Doolin. Like, there's no way this guy did anything. A witness said the roadside man and bridge guy were not the same person. So they're saying that Sarah Carbaugh described a man wearing a brown jacket. Well, to me, it's clear to see that the killer obviously has something brown underneath the blue jacket. Right? Right? So we're talking about seeing a killer before the crime and then seeing the killer after the crime. How could you possibly compare that to one another? But if she's seeing a man wearing a brown hoodie, brown jacket, brown coat, whatever, it could be very well layer number 2 or layer number 1. Tatum, what up? Hang in there. Don't let the man get you down. Sees through says sketches are just tools. I cannot think of a case where they were used in court, but I am sure they may be some. I don't think so. I don't think they're allowed in court. Maybe this is a good time to pull up all the Betsy Blair stuff here. Let's do that. Let's go to the brief and see what they had to say about it. We'll do this one verbatim. Like I said, I pulled a couple pages from it. Things that I think were relevant or important. Didn't they say Sarah Carbaugh to draw on the photo where she saw the blood, etc., on the guy she saw? Yeah, that's in the here, we can pull that up too. It was part of the exhibits that was released. Might be this one here. Yep. So kind of on his pants here, muddy and bloody. And then right here. I don't know what she was describing right here. All right. Blair's sketch proves she did not see Allen on the bridge. Blair did not identify Allen in court as bridge guy. Now she didn't. I think that is interesting. Is that the guy you saw on the bridge? You saw him. You gave the sketch, right? I think that should have been allowed. Like, no, that's not who I saw. Or it could have been. Let the record show that she said it could have been him. Or it's hard for me to say. I didn't get a too good of a look. That's just how I remembered it. What's up, Frank? Betsy Blair was about 150 feet away from the first platform. She's not going to get a good description of what a person looks like. Well, the thing is that nobody will. It's not about Betsy. It's just about the human being, what we are as creatures. We don't have photogenic memory. Not some of us might, but it's very rare. So it's going to be jumbled up. The memory is like a muscle that you need to flex and work out. And I kind of do that when I'm walking in the morning with my wife. I try to remember license plates, especially or descriptions of like UPS drivers, because we kind of have this loop that goes around. I can see him coming in, and then as we walk, I can see him going out. And most times I'm wrong. Right? Guys not wearing glasses. Had a goatee, not a full beard. Because sometimes the guy might be wearing headphones, and from a certain angle, it looks like glasses because you see this line kind of coming out. But really, maybe it's just the way his headphone is just kind of sticking out. But if you get a good quick glimpse, you're like, okay, he's wearing glasses. It's all about perspective. Landscape. What about the leaked photos? I think that this appeal is just a rinse and repeat from unethical Baldwin. Not necessarily, because they're focusing more on the constitutional stuff and they're putting the third party Odinism stuff in a very small corner in the back room, which I think might have been the strategy of Baldwin. You know, I think everything that they were doing might have been specifically for this point in time. Remember, this is chess, it's not checkers, but that goes both ways. But remember, we always said they're possibly doing all of these things later on for the appeal. Well, here we are. We're at the later on point. It will go nowhere. Richard Allen is the bridge guy. Well, we can't say that for certain. We just know that Richard Allen is involved, and he very well could be the bridge guy. We know that he could be involved because of the tool mark evidence and his timeline and also his confessions. If they're reliable, according to these documents, none of that stuff is reliable, but that's what they're supposed to say. They're defending the guy. So I get what you're saying. It really is more rinse and repeat, but it's more of a rinse and maybe dyeing the shirt another color, I guess. Trying to paint a turd, I guess, is another way to put it. Right? You can dress up a turd, but it's still a turd. But it was confirmed that they were all shown a picture of Bridge Guy and asked who it was, and they all agreed it was the same guy they saw. Yep. And the defense argued that, saying that, well, did you really remember it? Or did you see it in the newspaper on the 16th? Because then they ask him, like, well, when were you interviewed? I don't think any of the witnesses were interviewed by the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. I think they all kind of made the phone call, like, hey, we were there. And then they said, okay, well, we need to schedule an appointment with you. So it may have been like a week after. So if the images are released on the 16th, the girls see it. The question is, did they see it and then say, oh my God, that's the guy? And I think that that's what they testified to in court, was that, yeah, they saw it either on the screen or in the newspaper, whatever. They looked at it, and the first thing they thought was, that's the guy that I saw. And that's what Sarah Carbaugh said, like, hey, that's the guy. And even Betsy Blair, they all said that the person they saw was the bridge guy. During the trial, they had the picture of the bridge guy blowing up great big. And I'm telling you guys, if you guys would have seen this, you guys would have seen Richard Allen's face, the features, and all. Well, you know, we can't take your word for it, Frank. Right? That reminds me of Rick Snay when he was describing the crime scene photos, and he was like, "You have to believe me," you know. It's like we can't believe anybody's interpretation. We have to see it. That's the scientific method. We have to validate it. We have to be able to repeat it anywhere in the world at any time, and it's still the same. And unfortunately, you can't do that with somebody's opinion, because it goes back to that human thing. Maybe you're not remembering it correctly. Let's see. Blair's sketch shows Alan looked nothing like the person Blair saw. I don't know. I think that kind of looks like Richard Allen. Let me pull up the trial exhibits again. I think some of those photos actually look like him, or look like the young sketch. Poos, welcome in. To prove that Richard Allen is the bridge guy. All they really proved is that he's involved in the crime. Is he most likely the bridge guy? Well, yeah. But I mean, in any crime, you're not going to be able to prove everything indefinitely or definitely, right? Definitively, sorry. Unless the guy confesses or you have a video or something along those lines. So, what do you guys think? I think it's pretty close. Right? You just look. It's a quick look away. Boom. Oh, yeah, yeah, curly hair. I think there is one where his hair is kind of similar. Um, let's go this way. This one right here. His hair kind of is curly. So put that curly hair on this guy's head. Boom, you got it. I don't know. I don't think he will. It's all he has left at this point. Just 3 days after the murders, Blair met with the sketch artist and described the man she saw on the bridge as white, about 20, of medium build, and having brown curly hair. An artist created the following sketch based on Blair's description. This looks nothing like Allen. At the time of the murders, Allen was short. At the time of the murders, he was short. He must have grown. Blair's sketch also shows that she and Carbaugh saw different people. The state's timeline for the murders is dependent upon Carbaugh and Blair seeing the same person. Well, right, one person saw them before the murder and the other saw them after. So I don't think that they should look the same. And the prosecutor told the jury that every eyewitness adamant the person they saw was the bridge guy. And that is true. They all testified. I have all of their testimonies. And each one of them said, yes. When I saw the image of the bridge guy, I said, that's the guy that I saw. Each one of the witnesses testified to that. So this is a lie. Adamant the person they saw was bridge guy, and that's true. There's no doubt in their minds, but Blair's sketch disproves this claim. Carbaugh, like Blair, made a sketch. And once again, this is why Libby's video was so important and key to this investigation, because it acted as a point of reference. Right? Boom. They're like, okay, yeah, that's not how I remember it, but now that you're showing me this, that's what I saw. Because our memories suck, guys. That's just the fact. It's just a fact of it. But when you have a photograph right in front of you, it just makes it all clear. You know, you're able to remember clearly now. You have something to support, you know, to kind of trigger your memory. What's up, Brett Queen? Good to see you. Blair's sketch impeaches the investigation and shows law enforcement bias against Allen. For 2 years, law enforcement circulated Carbaugh's sketch without it yielding a single arrest. ISP released Blair's sketch, declared it represented the face of Bridge Guy, and announced that Blair and Carbaugh did not see the same person. After Allen's arrest, the story changed and the jury was told Carbaugh and Blair saw the same person. Well, they did, right? Maybe they didn't. Maybe there's multiple people involved. But then again, they all stated, after I saw the image of the Bridge Guy, that's the guy we saw. And I think they even argued against the brown coat. I think Sarah Carbaugh said, I never said that. Baldwin got pretty upset about that. But yeah, they're just kind of repeating a lot of the same stuff that was proven false by the witnesses. And we're going to hear that in the rebuttal from the Attorney General. Blair's sketch impeaches the investigation and shows law enforcement bias against Allen. For 2 years, law enforcement circulated Carbaugh's sketch without it yielding a single arrest. So in April of 2019, ISP released Blair's sketch, declared it represented the face of Bridge Guy, and announced that Blair and Carbaugh did not see the same person. Claire's sketch was reliable and probative of Bridge Guy's identity. Blair contacted law enforcement the day the girls went missing, and it was very clear to her she saw Bridge Guy. 2 days later, she developed her sketch with an artist and a book of facial features. She rated her sketch a 10 out of 10 for accuracy. In 2019, she met with law enforcement repeatedly and she reaffirmed her confidence in her sketch. She insisted that she could identify Bridge Guy if she saw him. When asked to describe the color of the car that resembles a 1965 Ford Comet, Betsy Blair actually told Leggett that the car she saw was not black. That is right. Leggett heard from the mouth of Betsy Blair that the 1965 Ford Comet looking vehicle was not even black, which is the color that Leggett needed the vehicle to be in order to fit the description of Richard's black Ford Focus, as described in Leggett's affidavit. I think Betsy Blair testified that it could have been black, was her testimony. So I think what they're saying is that Leggett may have stated that she claimed it was black, but the truth is she said it could have been black. Semantics. All right, let's continue on here. The affidavit falsely claimed Allen admitted wearing the same clothes as Bridge Guy. A witness actually described a tan jacket, not blue. Well, that's kind of already what we mentioned. I should have left that up. Right, we have a guy before the murders and then a guy after. Well, he's obviously wearing something brown underneath the blue jacket. So why wouldn't she see him? And the question is, where was the blue jacket? Did he come back and get it? Did he stash it? Excuse me. So you have Betsy Blair who sees this guy, possibly with his hat off, smoking a cigarette, chin up. You know, people with double chins, they try to go like this, kind of give themselves a facelift. You know, kind of stretch it out. But when you do that in certain lighting, you're going to look younger. That's how they make movie stars look young. And it all has to do with angles. So I think Betsy Blair caught him at a specific moment where he looks young. Here's a good example I put together for you guys. Is it opening? There it is. Okay, so these photographs were taken on the same day. Same person. But if you're walking into the bar and you take this snapshot, right? You're walking in and you catch Rick. You're going to the restroom. You're walking in. You got a snapshot here. He looks older, right? You can see the double chin, his jowls, his gray beard kind of sticking out, and his big old schnoz, right? He just looks like an old guy. He looks like a middle-aged man. But then you're walking out of the bar, not paying attention, and you see this guy, right? He has his jacket on. He's got his chin up, and he's got the light right in his eye, just like about it would have been at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, if Rick had turned around to face Betsy Blair, the son would have literally been doing the exact same thing as what's happening right here. Chin up. And if he's wearing this same stupid beanie, I mean, maybe you remembered it as curly hair. That doesn't mean this is a good representation of Rick. This is just angle and lighting and the position of his head. But he looks younger there. Same day, maybe 20 minutes apart. These were photographs posted by Kathy to her Facebook of a day they were out. In one photograph, he has his black jacket on. And then he takes it off. So there's a good example for you. If the omitted facts were included, probable cause would not exist. So once again, a misunderstanding of how human recollection works. The result sought. All evidence from Allen's home, gun, jacket, bullet evidence should have been suppressed. Or at a minimum, the court should order a Franks hearing to examine police deception. Looks like he shaved in between pics. Yeah, you can't even really see his beard. But it's just because the light is so bright on his face, the colors bleed. And that's what pixelation does also. Right? A light gray with light skin tone with sunlight mixed, it's all going to kind of bleed over. All right, Allen's confessions were involuntary and unconstitutional. Now, this was a big part of their filing. Allen argues his confessions were the result of extreme psychological coercion. He was held 13 months in near total solitary confinement in a maximum security prison. There's that number again, 13 months. 13. Lucky 13. You guys hang tight for a second. I'm going to grab a water. Okay, so we're going to get into the confessions. He was held 13 months in near total solitary confinement in a maximum security prison. He had known major depressive disorder and deteriorated into psychosis. He became gravely disabled, hallucinating, smearing feces, self-harming, and losing touch with reality. Doctors ordered involuntary antipsychotic medication. Confessions were made during psychosis. Not rational thought. He later did not remember confessing. The defense argues this violates U.S. Constitution due process and the Indiana Constitution, long-standing bans on confessions produced by coercion. All right, now let's read directly from the brief here. Well, we really didn't talk a whole lot about Betsy Blair in the car, but I don't think that's important. I think we get it. Okay, in this harsh environment, Dr. Walla controlled all aspects of Alan's life, including whether he got bedding, clothes, meal items, books, personal items, and utensils. She could provide a new window and a tablet or strip him to bare necessities. Privileges were contingent on pleasing her. Whether Walla had ill intent is irrelevant. It is what Alan thought and what solitary confinement did to him or would do to many of us. See, I find this very interesting. But then again, how is he going to make a detailed confession, right? She must have been feeding him information to make that possible. There's no evidence of that. But she was into the case. She basically is a true crime fan, part of the Delphi community, if you will. But the truth is, there really was no discussion about a van, really. Not this type of van on the private drive. There was discussion of a van, but it was van that was caught on CCTV footage, I think, near Packers, if I'm not mistaken. And it wasn't in a Ford Econoline style van. It was like a one of those taller, pointed ones, kind of something similar to what I think Brad Heath might have been driving. Let's see here. It is what Alan thought and what solitary confinement did to him or would do to many of us. After confessing to Walla on May 3rd, he asked for his property back and she indicated she needed more consistency. Man, that probably drove him crazy. IDOC records show that Alan continued to suffer from I think psychosis is what they meant, during the times he confessed. On April 5th, when he confessed to Dr. Walla, he was not eating or sleeping and was drinking from the toilet. On May 3rd, when he confessed, Alan had symptoms of paranoia and disorientation, despite Walla claiming he presented as more organized than he has been. The day before, he was confusing nightmares with reality and claiming that he started World War III. Well, she said that he was feigning and malingering after confessing. We all know what happened after he officially confessed. He tried to call his wife and confess to her and to see what her reaction would be if he went in that direction. And she shut him down. Covered himself in feces and claimed he was King Michael. His confessions to guards occurred during bizarre psychotic behavior. Guards believed he was faking, but they are not clinicians, and Dr. Westcott found no malingering through objective testing. Alan confessed to his family on April 3rd, May 10th, May 17th, May 25th, and June 11th. On April 3rd, he also fell on the floor, asked if he was dead, and was suicidal. On May 10th, he believed that he was dead, that the world would blow up if he slept. His water was poisoned, and he was reliving the same day. Thought it was Groundhog's Day. Puxatony Phil. He was paranoid of attorneys and staff with Odin patches. On May 25th, Alan paced for 2 hours and banged his head. Well, that's how you get out of solitary confinement. I mean, that's textbook. But the question is, why is he in solitary? And can you even define it as solitary? Right? I don't know anybody in solitary confinement that has a tablet. He thought he was in hell and did not understand what was happening. Well, I mean, technically, if you're in jail, you're going to feel like you're in hell, right? So I think anybody would say that. Like, I'm in hell and I don't understand what's happening. It's kind of the point. In August, Allen did not remember confessing or weeks of early April. Throughout, he complained of memory loss. State action overbore Allen's will. Allen did not confess until after 5 to 7 months of solitary. Before arrest, he consistently denied involvement. Dr. Westcott opined Allen's psychosis was caused by the stress of solitary confinement on pre-existing illness. Dr. Waller agreed that a lot of times solitary confinement exacerbates mental illness, and it is it is reasonable to believe Allen's confinement caused his psychosis. The social isolation of solitary makes people question their self. If you are treated like you are guilty, you begin to think you are. Dr. Grazian testified a false memory starts with a belief. In his first confession to his wife, Allen said, "I think I did it." In his first confession to Dr. Waller, he was unsure if he had sex with the girls. Allen got facts wrong and confessed to crimes he did not commit. Let's catch up on the chat. A lot of false confessions after his team visited him. Absolutely. And that's the countermeasures that we see from Richard Allen, right? I want to confess. I'm ready to confess. My mental health depends on it. I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. I'm going to die if I don't confess, right? He told Dr. Waller that he's felt better than he has even before he went to prison at that very moment. I think it's during the 2 May 10th calls. Dr. Waller testified that Rick told her that he was feeling better than ever. So he's like, I'm ready to do this. Let's do it. Like, I did the crime. I'm ready to do the time. Let's see how my wife takes it. She said that she would be there no matter what. And he has that personality disorder where he's dependent on her. And she shut him down. Not only did she shut him down, she tried to control the effect that it would later have during a trial as evidence, right? She hung up the phone. Began repeating things that were obviously learned during coaching sessions with Baldwin and Rosie. Like, oh, they're messing with your head. You can't talk over these phones. Stop talking like that. You can't call me if you're going to talk like this. And then even hanging up, right? Heckles? Richard is guilty. Yeah, absolutely he is guilty. But what part did he play? What was his role? A landscape. When I read this part, I asked myself, how many times did Richard Allen try to unalive himself? That would dictate what Waller could give him safely. Well, he was threatening to Dr. Waller at one point that he was going to get up on top of his sink. And once he was on top of the sink, he was going to jump down and land on a certain way on his neck or head that would possibly kill him. Those are the things that he was telling her. Now, remember, they transferred Rick for his own protection, not against other inmates, but from himself. He needed to be under 24-hour observation. That's the whole point of the transfer. If they wouldn't have transferred him, he probably would have been able to take his own life. There was a report that when he was in jail or at some point when he was locked up, he was trying to get his hands on the basketball net or something along those lines. I don't know if anybody out there can verify it. If you can find that, send it to my email at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Let's see. Heckles. If you watch Richard's wife's reaction in the police interview, I don't see how you'd think he's innocent. Who thinks he's innocent? If Richard Allen wanted to get out of prison, all he needs to do is tell them where his cell phone went. Well, he already said that he ran it over with his lawnmower. I'm sure after his first real confession, his team would be like, confess to things that could be true. They covered up his true confession to mom and wife. Well, he doesn't need his attorneys to tell him that, Landscape. He's not as dumb as people make him out to be, or as dumb as he tries to appear in public, right? He tries to appear to be this weird, um, um, mentally handicapped person, but he's not. He's evaded police for a long time. So he doesn't need his defense team to tell him to malinger or to take proactive measures. Like, okay, like I tried to confess. My wife doesn't want to go that route, and all I really care about is pleasing her. So I guess I'll shut my mouth, right? But now what do I do? I've confessed. How do I help my wife? Right? I don't want to help Dr. Walla anymore. I want to help my wife. How do I help her and what she wants? Right? The same thing can be said about Kathy as what's being said here in the brief about Dr. Walla. Like his real motivation is Kathy. And Kathy is saying, I don't want you to confess. I want you to stop doing that. Because every time you confess, that makes me the wife of a child killer. And not just a child killer, but Abby and Libby, the town that they lived in. She knew some of the family members. She knew the aunts and some of the uncles. And she was probably looking for the killer as well. And you're telling me that you're the killer? Well, guess what? That implicates me and makes me the wife of a child killer. Not just a child killer, but Abby and Libby, who made headline news that she wanted to go search for, that she probably felt in her heart like that could have been my daughter. I have kids. So once she made that clear, her position, that's when Rick started going back to the bullshit. And he also stated to Dr. Walla after she denied him, after Kathy denied him, he told Dr. Walla, well, I'm really going to go crazy now, right? I'm feeling great. I'm feeling better than I have in a really long time. And I'm ready to confess to my wife. She shut that shit down. Dr. Walla's like, well, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, stand right here. I'm going to call her back. I'm going to call my wife back and I want you to see what I'm dealing with. He calls his wife back and says, I did it. I'm not sick. I'm well. I need you to understand that I did this, right? There's no if, ands, or buts. It was me. And I just hope that you're going to be there for me. And she's like, nope. And he says, well, I'm really going to go crazy now. And he did. He really went crazy after that. So imagine you want to, you try to hide it. You're trying to deny that you're the killer. You've been captured. You've been charged. Now you're in prison. You're trying to act like you're still not this guy. And then you come to terms with it and say, yes, I'm going to admit it. I am this guy. I'm done playing the game. My health depends on it. And then you go to confess, and the one person you need to be in your corner just won't allow it. So you can't even confess. So you're guilty. There's no way out. You're really going to go crazy now. And that's what he said. So let's go to Dr. Walla's testimony. This is what she testified to in court. And then we'll play the phone calls that we play all the time because they're important. They give it all context. Yes, yeah, it was in the APOD counselor's cubicle. I started with him wanting to call his wife. We attempted to assist him with those phone calls, but it didn't work. She didn't answer. So then he went on to provide a narrative of what took place in regards to the crime. So if you see here, Rick had already talked to Kathy, and she said, no matter what, I'm going to love you. I'll be there for you, no matter what, even if you are the killer. So he's ready to confess. Like he's gung ho about it. She says, the day it started with him wanting to call his wife. So he's like, I want to call her. Why is he calling Kathy before confessing to Dr. Walla? Because that's who matters to him. He wants to tell her before anybody. Like, I'm ready. Let's get this over with. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna confess, but I need to run that by Kathy first. Well, she doesn't answer. He's like, well, hell with that. She'll understand. I'll talk to her at some point. She'll call me back or I'll call her later. And then he begins just venting, like, I'm ready. Let's get this off my chest. Okay, so then he went on to provide a narrative of what took place in regards to the crime. What did he tell you? So he said he wanted to confess to his crimes and went on to tell his story. He reported seeing his parents the morning of the crime, stated he was supposed to go eat with them, but opted to get himself a six pack. He reported drinking 3 beers and then finishing the rest later. He stated, I bundled up, right? Like the bridge guy, he's bundled up. Once on the trail, he stated, I laid in wait. He reported seeing the girls and following them to the bridge. He mentioned doing something with his gun and stated, I think that's where the bullet fell out. So he's even confused, right? He's like, fuck. He's like, how did I drop that bullet? So he's trying to figure it out. And then he said, I ordered them down the hill. He stated his intention was to rape the girls and mentioned that he thought they were older than their biological ages. He said he saw a van, which scared him and caused him not to follow through on the raping. He said they crossed the creek and then he cut their necks. He indicated wanting to make sure they were dead. That's something very similar to what Ron Logan said that Reese Davis said Ron Logan told him. He reported covering their bodies with tree branches. He said he exited the area by keeping off the trail as to not be seen. He said he returned to his vehicle, which he parked by a nearby building. He stated he managed to continue living his life after time passed by and he had been caught. Now, did you ask him about the crime that he had been charged with? I did not. Okay, so it's at this point that Rick calls Kathy. He says, Walla, let me have the phone again. I'm going to try to call Kathy. She steps out of the room and he makes this phone call.
For English, press 1. Para español, oprima 2. For a collect call, press 0. Please hold.
Can you guys hear that okay? Heckles, later on, Kathy said that he actually ran over a phone with the lawnmower.
Please hold. Hello, this is a free
What's up,
call
Nene G?
from
Ricky.
an inmate at the Indiana Department of Corrections, Westville Correctional Facility. To accept this free call,
It
press
is,
0. To refuse this free call, hang up or press 1.
True that.
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording.
I agree with that,
Thank you
Heckles.
for using GTL.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Are you there?
I am.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
Oh, it's good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear your voice, baby.
Oh, you doing okay, hon?
Oh, I might be now.
Okay.
Okay, did you hear that?
Well, I'm supposed to be meeting Brad here to.
All right, let me stop there. We're going to kind of stop and go on this one. She says, are you doing okay? He says, I might be now. So that's what he's telling her. He's very eager to run it by, like, hey, I'm ready to confess. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what's your reaction to that? That's going to determine what I do. Hold on a second. Hold on, guys. My wife says she's going somewhere right now. I just want to see if she wants me to hang out with my son. That way she can kind of get a break. So this is going to determine whether or not we continue this live stream or we have a part 2. Do 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 do. What's up, Vix? Yeah, I don't want to play the call because I want to go over each piece. Put everything into context. Okay, we're all good. She said he's not being fussy, and she's going to take him. All right, guys. Okay, let me run this back right here.
Recall for corrections. Hang up. Thank you for using GTA.
Are you there?
I am.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
Oh, it's good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear your voice, baby.
Oh,
See, he sounds fine.
you doing okay, hon?
Oh, I might be now.
You doing okay, hun? Might be now. Now, keep in mind what Wallace said. Wallace said that he was doing better than he had been doing in a long time. He was not psychotic. First thing he wanted to do was call his wife. Calls her a bunch of times, no answer. Says, right, heck with her. Let me confess to you, Dr. Waller. He's already made all these weird confessions, but he's like, no, I want to confess to you. She's not answering. I'll confess to you, and then I'll call her back. This is that call. Confesses to Dr. Wallen in detail, and then makes this phone call.
Okay. Well, I'm supposed to be meeting Brad here at a gas station to sign something, so I didn't know what that was about. But are they going to move you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think maybe I'm losing my mind, but I'm not sure.
Oh no, no. So they allowed you to call, or have you been able to and just couldn't?
Oh, great. This is the part where it gets weird.
Yeah. I'm right here.
He said, this is the part where it gets weird. He's like, this is the part that you don't want to hear. This is the part that I've been protecting you from this entire time.
Oh. Are you okay?
Yeah.
See, all he cares about is Kathy. Are you okay? Because what I'm about to tell you is going to, it's going to piss you off, and it's going to change everything. And it not only that, it is his greatest fear. This moment right here is the very reason that he committed the murders. He did not want his wife to know that he attacked those girls and that he had some kind of weird sex addiction and that he's got all these issues. He could not let her know what he did and who he really is in that internalized mind of his. But he is realizing all of his fears at this very moment. And guess what he gets in return? Shut down.
Yeah. What's going on, hon?
I don't know. I just think maybe I've lost my mind.
Oh. No,
Oh.
honey. We've all lost our minds at this point.
So Brad and so I can trust Brad and Andy then?
Yes, you can, sweetheart. Yes. Let's not talk
How do I
about
know?
anything that we don't need to, but
See, she's already in on it.
No, there are lawyers, honey.
She's already shutting him down. What he's asking her is, if I confess, I can trust them, right? To take us where we need to go accomplish this. She says yes, and then instantly starts shutting him down.
There are lawyers.
Well, I need to tell you something anyway.
Okay.
She's been coached.
Are you sure you want to talk to me over the phone?
Sure, you want to talk to me on the phone? Yeah, I'm ready.
I
I'm
think
confessing.
I have to.
Okay.
He wants it documented.
There are lawyers, honey. There are lawyers.
Ziggy.
Well, I need to tell you something anyway.
Okay.
I agree, Hells. She just doesn't want to be the girl that married a
Are
guy
you sure you want to
that
talk to
killed
me
2
over the
kids.
phone?
I think I have to.
Okay.
So she's basically like, the call's being recorded. He's like, yeah, I have to tell you on a recorded call. Like, I have to make it official. So technically, this is kind of like an official confession. Him acknowledging that it's being recorded like that.
I need you to know that I did this.
What? No. No, you didn't, dear. There's no way. There's
I
no
hope
way,
you still
dear.
love me.
Dear, there's no way. Okay.
I hope you still love me.
I always will go love you, honey, but no, you have not done anything. And I think you are not well. So you don't need to be saying you did something you didn't do.
Well, hon, this is the first time I've been able to talk to you, and I've been trying forever.
Were you just not allowed to call me, or?
No, I've been
I
calling
don't
you
know
all
what's
day.
going on, hon.
Okay.
He's like, you were ignoring my
Definitely gonna
call.
lose my mind now, though.
Don't.
I've been trying forever. Well, hon, this is the first time I've been able to talk to you, and
So you can hear the irritation in Rick's voice. And we heard from the testimony of Dr. Walla that he started his day asking for the phone and making multiple calls to Kathy, and she didn't pick up. So this is him basically telling her, like, what the fuck? I've been trying to call you and you didn't pick up. She's like, well, what happened? They didn't allow you to call? And he's like, I don't know what's going on. Basically saying, no, you know damn well that you didn't pick up my phone call.
So you don't need to be saying you did something you didn't do.
well, hon, this is the first time I've been able to talk to you, and I've been trying forever.
Were you just not allowed to call me, or?
I don't know what's going on, hon.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to lose my mind now, though.
Don't. Were you just not allowed to call me, or?
So he confesses to her and she shuts him down. And what does he say in return? Well, now I'm really going to lose my mind because I was going crazy trying to keep this secret. Now that I'm ready to tell everybody the secret and confess, now I'm not even allowed to do that. How am I going to vent? Where's my outlet? And I'm too much of a coward to kill myself. They're watching me 24/7, so I can't. I feel like I'm in hell. So that is his hell. His hell is that he can't confess and he can't deny it. He's in hell. He's in basically purgatory. Nobody will let him do anything that he's trying to do. Nobody's representing him.
I don't know what's going on, hon.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to lose my mind now, though.
Don't. I'm supposed to be meeting Brad here for some reason, so I don't know where he's at, but
I've been asking for personal visitation, and that's not going
Yeah.
through, and
I know.
then it's taken me, feels like it's taken me forever.
You have 1 minute remaining.
It's okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to be at peace with things.
Just trying to be at peace with things, and you won't let me.
And I had a dream that I needed to let you go, and I didn't know how to let you go, and
Well, then you're dreaming stuff again. Okay? That's all it is. You don't
What's up,
be
Scorpio?
talking about anything on the phone negative like that.
What up? What up?
Okay?
but I have to let you know that I did it, hon.
Dear, no, you didn't. There's no way. There's no way.
Click.
Thank you for using GTL.
She just clicked on him. Vix, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, let's listen to call number 2. So he told Dr. Walla, "Did you see that?" And she's like, "No, what happened?" He's like, "Well, I tried to confess to my wife and she wouldn't let me." And then he says, "Hey, I want you to stand right here so you know, as my doctor, you can understand why I'm so frustrated and why I'm losing my mind. I want you to see what I'm dealing with." She says, "Okay, I'll stand right here." And then he makes this phone call.
For English, press 1. Para español, oprima 2.
Thanks, Vix.
For a collect call, press 0. For a debit call, press 1. To learn how to use this phone and not connected. Hello, at the Indiana, press 0.
Hope you still love me, baby. Hey, it's me. Hello?
Hey,
Hey, it's me.
yeah.
Yeah. See, she's already crying.
I need to know if you still love me, baby.
He's going all in with the confession.
Yes, dear.
Okay. And everybody else will as well? Honey?
Yes.
Because I may have to spend the rest of my life here, or
Stop talking about it. That's not true. Okay? Okay?
I don't understand. I just got to know that everybody's still going to love me.
I love you.
Because I may only be able to see you one last time. You understand what I'm saying?
No, thank you. It's not true.
I think he might have been talking about
It's
taking
true,
his own
honey.
life.
No, it's not.
It's true, honey.
No, it's not. You're not well, sweetheart.
I'm well.
You're not well. I'm well.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am, honey.
This is a lucid man.
I just hope that you'll still love me, because I may only, if I get the electric chair, or if I get the death penalty,
No. No.
Which is consistent with his crime.
No,
He's not
honey,
talking
that's
about
not
World War
happening.
III or nuclear warfare.
No.
if it does, will you be there for me?
See, he's trying to show Walla, like, look what I'm dealing with. So when he's talking, he's probably looking at Walla.
Do what?
Nothing. This isn't right. They messed you up so bad.
It's okay, honey. I did it.
It's all about
I
control,
did it,
Vix.
dear.
All the way to the end.
Stop.
I cannot stop. I've got somebody here listening to me right now, dear.
No. I forget it.
See, and when he says, I have somebody listening here, what he's saying is, this is official. This is me officially confessing to you. The phone call's being recorded, and I have somebody right here listening to me. Like, there's no going back from this. I've made my decision. Are you still going to be there for me? Yes or no?
I don't.
What's up, Dawn Spain?
What are you doing, dude?
I killed Abby, dear.
No, you didn't. Stop. Stop saying that. No, you didn't.
I knew I was supposed to let you go. I was trying to let you go.
Stop. Dear, we're going to be back together.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Watch, she shakes it off, hits the
I
switch.
hope you're always going to love me.
Watch her change here in a second.
No matter what.
She's like, nope, we're not doing this. She's remembering what Brad and Andy told her right about now.
Will you always love me, baby?
Who's with you? Who's with you? Who's with you? Who's with you? You need to stop talking.
She's in denial.
Look, your lawyer's not there. You need to stop talking. Who's with you, honey? Who's with you?
Thank you for using GT.
See, she's able to justify it in her own mind. Right? He's being coerced. Oh, he said something. She's going to find any way out of it. Her mind is going to wiggle out of any corner that he puts her in, because the corner that any confession that he makes is a confession for her. If he confesses to being a child killer, that's a confession for her that she married a child killer. She can't handle that. So when he says somebody's standing here with me, she remembers that. Oh, okay, this is my way to wiggle out of accepting the truth. He's left me some wiggle room, right? Somebody's there coercing you. This is what Brad and Andy told me about, that they're going to try to get in his head and they're going to try to do this, this, and that. All right, let's finish up with Betsy Blair. This is a part of her testimony. In the first paragraph of your report, does he talk about whether he committed the offense? She says yes. Does he indicate whether anybody helped him? He did not indicate anyone helping him. Does he say that he did it alone? Yes. Yes, it does say that. Okay. Does he talk about whether he knows whether the victims were deceased before he left the scene? Yes. What did he say about his intentions? He said that he knew his intentions were sexual in nature. Does he speak about the age of the victims? He reported thinking that they were at least 18 or 19, but could have been as young as 11. Does he give any other indications as to why he may have killed them? Well, he talked about being selfish all his life, also being a coward. So when he got scared, he took their lives in order to preserve his own. And does he say anything about how he feels in it? About it in retrospect. He was talking about hoping he could apologize to the families of the victims and wished he could go back and change his actions. Okay, does he expand at all about the sexual intent of the murders? He alluded to having a sex addiction. And did he give some background on that as well? A little bit. He said he didn't think he was molested. He said he didn't think he was molested as a child, but admitted to molesting his sister as a child. He reported viewing Playboy magazine and other sexually explicit materials. So they brought his sister on the stand and asked her, "Hey, did he molest you?" Well, the thing is, if he molested his sister as a child, that means that she would have been even younger. So she most likely doesn't remember it, right? If he's 10, she would have been 4 or something along those lines. As well as experimenting with both male and female children his age. And he said he felt that's where the problem began, right? So he was probably being victimized there. Okay, does he also talk to you in this session about his drinking history? Yes. I direct you to the 4th paragraph under patient complaint. Okay, does he also talk to you in this session about his drinking history? He admitted to being an alcoholic. That was his word. Twice since 2011, and he talked about how when he is in that state, he was cared for by his wife. Now, does he also make reference to religion? And I direct you to paragraph 6. He reported taking God into his heart on March 21st, 2023. He asked if I believed in God. He said, I hoped everyone would find God before they died. He had recently received a Bible and reported wanting to read it before he died. He reported Psalms 23 gave him a sense of peace. Something about that number. And do you talk about what he would like to do with his Bible? He stated that he hoped he would be able to give it away, possibly even to the families of Abby and Libby. He could give so they could give it to somebody that might need help. All right, let's continue on here. On the June 5th call, she sounds done with him. I think that is the call. She says she knows he did it too. Well, I'm not familiar with that. Okay, all confessions to guards, doctors, and family should have been excluded. All right, let's get into the Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall stuff here. Allen was denied the right to present a complete defense. The trial court allegedly blocked critical defense evidence, including the police sketch of Bridge Guy that did not resemble Allen, expert testimony challenging the state's timeline, evidence undermining the credibility of Allen's confessions, audio and video showing Allen's mental collapse, evidence suggesting third-party guilt and incomplete investigation, evidence supporting an alternative explanation of the crime scene. The defense argues the jury heard a one-sided narrative while being denied crucial context. Key weaknesses highlighted in the state's case. No eyewitness identified Allen as the Bridge Guy. No DNA linking Allen to the crime. No bullet evidence is highly disputed. The bullet evidence is highly disputed and subjective. Confessions occurred during documented psychosis. Crime scene evidence suggests complexity, inconsistent with the state's theory. Let's see. Maybe we'll go, instead of third-party suspects, we'll talk about the bullet. Okay. So tool marks are often referred to as a fingerprint for a firearm. Well, let's look at what a fingerprint is. Identical fingerprints have never been reliably documented, including among identical twins. So they have yet to find two matching fingerprints from two separate people. fingerprints are considered unique and persistent enough for identification when properly collected and compared. Okay, let's look at this part of the briefing or the brief that was filed. This is basically Oberg versus Tobin, metallurgy versus analysis, tool mark analysis. Allen tendered William Tobin to explain the scientific community's robust criticism of the AFTE's tool mark matching methodology. The judge excluded him because he was not a firearms expert. He was untrained in firearm identification. He did not examine the evidence in the case, and he did not conduct a firearm examination. According to the court, Tobin's testimony does not go to an issue before the jury and lacks relevance. This decision violated our rules of evidence and violated Allen's constitutional right to present a defense. So let me explain a little bit of what was going on there. So Tobin wasn't there to represent or to be a witness, a defense witness in the trial of Richard Allen. He was there to be a witness on the trial of tool mark evidence. So there was no basis at all. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so that's why Tobin didn't test anything. He's not an expert on tool marks. He's just there to say, hey, this is subjective. Nobody should be using tool marks in a court of law. Like, he has no expertise on the specific evidence. He's just saying that it's just too subjective. Like, you're over here saying that this is powerful evidence. It ties our client to the crime scene, that it is the nexus to the actual murder scene because it matches his firearm. And he's just there to say, well, this line of evidence or this line of thinking is not valid and it should be completely thrown out. So he's trying to set a precedent, really, for tool mark evidence in general, not the evidence against Rick Allen. So metallurgy versus tool mark identification. What's the difference? And why was the judge able to throw it out? And why didn't he even do his own analysis? You know, why didn't he do his own testing? Because that's not what he is and that's not what he does. All right, metallurgy focuses on metal composition, alloys, grain structure, hardness, heat treatment, and manufacturing processes, failure analysis like fractures, fatigue, and corrosion. Now, here's the difference. Tool mark examination focuses on pattern comparison of microscopic marks left by tools or firearms, subjective visual matching between the question item and a known source, assessing class versus individual characteristics. A metallurgist is trained to answer, what is this metal and how was it made? Tool mark examiner claims to answer, did this specific tool make this specific mark? That's the difference. It was almost as if Tobin had nothing to do with the trial itself. He was just there to attack the evidence that was being chosen by the prosecution. Yeah, absolutely. They don't want his Bible. They don't want to even be near him. Imagine being in the same room. That must have been difficult. Okay, expert testimony should be admitted if the expert is qualified, which they're not, right? They're not qualified. By knowledge, skill, experience, didn't have any of that. Just had knowledge about metals, not tool marks themselves. Tobin was clearly qualified to explain the scientific community's robust criticism of the AFTE methodology. Tobin is a nationally recognized expert in forensic metallurgy and material science who has testified as an expert in many cases involving the validity and reliability of firearms and tool marks. So he wasn't there to testify for Richard Allen. He was there to testify against using tool marks in the trial. So that's not what's going on here. So they got to throw it out. They need you to challenge what's already been allowed, which is the tool marks. We need you to challenge that, not to challenge the process. That'll have to be another trial. Let's see. I don't know if I have anything left. Microscopic randomness and inherent metal fabrication. Even in mass production, cutting tools wear irregularly at a micro scale. Grain boundaries, inclusions, and micro voids vary. That's like air pockets here and there. Tool chatter, vibration, and thermal expansion are never identical. These processes introduce chaotic variation, not repeatable patterns at the microscopic level. So that's why they refer to tool marks as fingerprints, because they haven't been able to match even the same gun produced on the same manufacturing line right at consecutively, and they haven't been able to match those tool marks up on a micro scale. So similar to a fingerprint, they haven't found two individuals in the world who have the same fingerprint, not even twins. Okay, so what Allen is asking the court to do: reverse the convictions outright, or order a new trial, or suppress evidence and remand for further hearings. The appeal argues this was not just a flawed trial, but constitutionally broken prosecution, built on a misleading search warrant, which could be true, psychologically coerced confessions. I don't believe that's true. And I showed you why. Excluded defense evidence. Now, that could be something, but when it comes to Brad Holder, he has an alibi. We're not even going to waste any time on that because they both have alibis. You can't say, oh, well, the sticks and Brad Holder's Facebook and this and that, and then just ignore that he has an alibi. You have to literally break that alibi. That's all my focus when it comes to Brad is breaking his alibi. That's it. You shouldn't go anywhere until you can accomplish that. And is it arguable right now? Yeah, it is arguable. But the connection between Logan Holder and Abby is not a nexus, no matter what. There is no nexus. That just happened to be her boyfriend, and he just happens to be into Odinism and does a lot of stuff with sticks. Well, there were sticks left at the crime scene. Is that a connection? Well, can you connect him to the crime scene? No. So you're trying to connect somebody like Patrick Westfall to Brad Holder, who you have yet to connect to the crime scene. That is not a nexus, right? Richard Allen's nexus is the bullet, and him actually admitted to being right there. So that's the difference. Abby and Logan knowing each other, them searching his phone, and him saying, well, they found her or she's missing. It's all taken out of context. They didn't talk about his reply. Did he say, well, who's missing? Like, what are you talking about? Maybe his response was, well, Abby, my girlfriend. Oh, well, you should have said that, right? So we don't get to see the whole communication or the text. And even if we didn't, she's missing, right? Things like that. That's not a nexus, you know? So we're not going to waste any time on that. So Patrick Westfall has an alibi. He says he was with his son. Is that true? I don't know. You have to break that alibi. And as far as Brad Holder, he has an alibi too. So until you can break those alibis, it's pointless even discussing them because there's no nexus beyond that point. You can't take that to trial, right? What defense attorney would take somebody to trial that has an alibi, right? Or what prosecutor? Okay, let's put you in front of a jury and explain why you're guilty. And then the defense is going to step up and say, oh, well, he has an alibi and I can show it to you, jury. Okay, well, why is he even here? Well, that's why Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall weren't where Richard Allen was. There's no nexus. Right? And if there's anything connecting anything to anybody, it's Ron Logan, Kagan Klein, and Richard Allen. So, with that being said, we're going to be right back. I'm going to take a quick restroom break, and we're going to get into the phone jack stuff, and then we're going to also get into Richard Allen's verified reply memorandum. I think that was filed in February. We're going to break that down where they actually mentioned Kagan Klein. So if you guys want to go grab a water, take a quick restroom break, this will kind of act as an intermission. We'll be right back. All righty, guys. Okay, where were we? I think we should just move right on to the stuff that was mentioned about the phone jack. Let me pull up a couple pages of the brief that was filed here. Okay. All right. The state built its entire case upon the following timeline. And I think it's a solid timeline. It's a solid timeline that matches up with Libby's phone data. Absolutely. And it also matches up with the confessions to Dr. Walla, which are supported by the 2 phone calls that Rick made, those, confessed to his wife, and we just played those. He sounds fine. He's lucid. He's coherent. You can hear the tone of his voice. He means business. It's genuine frustration, the response that he was given by his wife. And the intimate details provided by Walla kind of gives us a fly on the wall perspective of what was going on with Rick and Kathy, and how Walla was kind of lurking about. Okay. Allen encountered the girls at 2:13. He completed the murders alone, left Libby's phone at the murder scene, was spotted by Carbaugh leaving the scene at 3:56 p.m. and never returned. If Allen committed the murders, there should be no human initiated activity on Libby's phone after 3:56 p.m. But there was. At trial, Allen called Eldridge, a former FBI forensic examiner who examined the data from Libby's phone and testified that wired headphones or an aux cable were plugged into the phone at 5:45 p.m. on February 13th and then removed at 10:32 p.m. This action would silence a phone call, and she noted that the data showed an incoming call moments before the headphones were inserted, suggesting somebody was intentionally silencing Libby's phone since the state claimed Allen left the murder scene at 3:56. Eldridge's evidence eviscerated the state's timeline and showed somebody else committed the murders. You know, it's interesting because the same person, Eldridge, is the one that reported that the phone did not move. The phone did not move. After I think 2:32, the phone sat there, and even while the phone was jacked or whoever was plugging in these headphones, it still did not move. So when you pick up a phone and you take it in your hand, you're lifting that phone up in elevation. So this person would have had to have plugged in the phone, right? Clicked it in and the phone not move at all, not even budge. Boom, silencing the phone calls. And we know the phone wasn't even on, right? It just has this backup battery power that's kind of documenting everything that's going on with the phone. Doesn't mean that it's powered up to take calls or to text message. It just has a backup battery so that you can find your phone and use certain apps, health apps, which are what provided all of these details. So, and first of all, who's going to go out there at 5:45 p.m., right? You're coming back to the crime scene. You plug in the phone, you plug in headphones, and then remove them again at 10:32 p.m. You're trying to keep the phone from ringing, which in turn keeps you from getting busted, yet you're returning to a crime scene at 5:45 to potentially get busted, and then you're coming back at 10:32 p.m. to remove the headphones? Okay, let's say that happened. Why the hell would anybody in their right mind ever do that? All right? Why wouldn't you just crush the phone? Why not just hit it with a stick? Boom, done deal. But you're telling me you're plugging in headphones after committing a brutal murder. People are looking for them at this point in time. So you're trying to conceal the phone ringer. Why not just break it? But not only are you going to plug in the phone jack, you're going to return at 10:32 and unplug it? Interesting. And she noted that the data showed an incoming call moments before the headphones were inserted. So this could be what triggered whatever it was, right? This phone call comes in and triggers something with the phone. Since the state claimed Allen left the murder scene at 3:56, Eldridge's evidence eviscerated. That's quite the word, right? Eviscerated the state's timeline and showed somebody else committed the murders. Okay, so who's to say that Rick didn't come back at 5:45 p.m., right, when his wife came home, and for whatever reason, they got it in their mind to go and insert headphone jacks? It doesn't make any sense. So therefore, it's not believable, even if it is true, right? It's hard to understand. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody go back to the crime scene and plug something into the phone and somehow miraculously not move the phone, right? You put your finger on the top like this and then plug in the phone jack. I don't think so. You're going to pick up the phone, plug it in, and then you're going to put it back down. But that's not what happened. Eldridge says the phone did not move at all after like 2:35 or something like that. Okay, the state responded by asking Cecil if damage could simulate headphones being plugged into Libby's phone. Cecil testified he Googled it and found some unspecified non-peer reviewed troubleshooting forums reporting that it could. Absolutely. This has happened to me on my phone with slight water damage. Your phone might turn on, turn off. Does a lot of weird shit. So here are some things that I found to support the idea of water damage actually reporting the phone that something's being input into the phone jack, right? I don't know if you guys have ever opened your refrigerator. You know how it has a little switch that's controlled by the opening and shutting of the door. Well, sometimes you can open the door and click the little button, right? You push it with your finger and the light goes off. Does that mean that the refrigerator door is closed? No, it means something else is triggering the light to shut off. So let's look at what he looked up on Google is something that's extremely common. Here, I'll just play a quick video. This is something that I found on YouTube by Christopher Dungeon. And this is something that a lot of you have experienced. And this isn't magic or anything. This is kind of common sense, right? What's more likely that water damaged somehow triggered something on the phone that simulates a phone being plugged in, or a phone something being plugged into the headphone jack, right? Put the finger up, the light goes off. Maybe water or something got in there that triggered whatever it was in the phone that registers something being plugged in. And that is actually something that happens and very common. So they're trying to say the fact that he Googled it makes him a non expert. But the truth is, that was probably the best thing he can do because anybody can Google it, right? If he Googled it, that means the jury can Google it and you and I can Google it to show how ridiculous the argument is. And spot on. Let's watch this video.
Have recently noticed that your speakers stop working on your iPhone. If this happens to you, it may not just be the speaker. What might be the problem is that your phone is actually in headphone mode. Your headphone jack is telling your phone that you have headphones in when you really don't.
What? What is this? What did he say? He says, oh man, if you have a problem with your speakers not activating, it's because for whatever reason your phone thinks that you have headphones plugged in, when in fact you don't.
Now, why is this happening? Because there are pins inside.
What pins? You mean kind of like the little flicky button on the top of the refrigerator when you open it? Little pin sticking out. Remember, you close the door, tells the light to turn off. Well, if you open the door and flick it with your finger, the light goes off. That doesn't mean that the door is closed. It means something else has engaged with the flicker. So that's what he's explaining. See these little knobs right here, these little things inside of the port?
The headphone jack that could get stuck for numerous reasons. You could have lint in there, or you may have recently gotten your phone in water. That's a pretty common cause.
What? What's a common cause here? I need to bring that back.
You may have recently gotten your phone in water. That's a pretty common cause.
What?
Gotten your phone in water. You may have recently gotten your phone in water, or you may have recently gotten your phone in water.
This isn't rocket science, you guys. This is not rocket science. Okay, let's get back to this. So this is ridiculous right here. Okay, so we talked about the tool marks, we talked about the phone jack, we talked about the confessions, and we skipped over Brad and Patrick because they have alibis, and nobody has been able to break those alibis. So you can't create a nexus to a crime scene with people who have alibis. One thing Richard Allen does not have is an alibi. So this will be our 5-minute warning. If there's anything you want to comment on, do it now. If you're part of the replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Drop a comment and we'll get back to you. That's going to be all of the information that I plan to present to you guys today. Let me know what you think. We'll hang out for another 5 minutes. All without the health app recording a step. Absolutely. There was no movement on the phone. No change in elevation, no steps, no nothing. And if you are the killer and you're trying not to get caught, that's your motivation for plugging in the headphones, right? Now, if you were somebody like Ron Logan, I could see that being possible. Right? Ron Logan could go out there and sneak out there and do something like that. Did Libby even have headphones with her? If not, where did the headphones come from? Well, the defense is saying that the real killer did that. The real killer. Oh, you know what? There was something that I needed to go over with you guys. Sorry about that. It'll be quick. So, Richard Allen's verified reply memorandum to the state summary. This was filed, I think, in February. So, I did a summary of that for you guys. Let's read that one. Oh, shit. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Okay. So this one will be quick, you guys. Okay, here's a clear, concise summary of Richard Allen's verified reply memorandum to the state of Indiana's response to preserve and produce and request for sanctions. What this filing is, Richard Allen's defense argues that prosecution repeatedly withheld exculpatory evidence, violated local discovery rules, and misled defense counsel, and that the misconduct justifies sanctions up to and including a new trial. But notice in the appeal, in the brief that was filed, they didn't mention Kagan Klein. There was no mention of him whatsoever. The defense claims the state has shown a pattern of hiding or delaying exculpatory evidence, denying Allen a fair trial, and violating both constitutional law, Brady obligations, and Carroll County Local Rule 18b2. Key evidence at issue, Reese Davis letters. Prosecutors possessed letters from inmate Reese Davis as early as October of 24, but did not disclose them until February 28th of 2025 after trial. One letter is missing entirely and cannot be located. Prosecutor McClelland denied possessing the letters in February 13th of 2025 email, which the defense says was false. Okay, now remember, it was the letters of Reese Davis that implicate Richard Allen, both Kleins, father and son, and Ron Logan, which to me makes the most sense, honestly. That answers every question that we have. My only question is, why isn't anybody talking about that? Okay. Why the letters matter. According to the defense, the letters contain highly exculpatory information, including Kagan Klein allegedly confessing to the murders, Klein implicating Ron Logan, another early suspect. See, they're leaving out exculpatory information, right? They're doing what they're accusing the prosecutor of doing. So in the Reese letters, they implicate Ron Logan, Kagan Klein, and Richard Allen. So the things that you can get away with during an appeal are something that you would have a successful appeal if it was done by the prosecutor. That's not fair. Okay, had the letters been disclosed, the defense would have renewed third-party suspect motions, conducted depositions during trial, investigated links between Klein and Logan, presented alibi evidence showing Allen was home. Yeah, where's that? Why didn't you focus on that? Used experts to examine handcuff evidence. The fuck? Let's see. Or that might have been tool mark evidence. Allegations against the prosecutor. Misrepresentation to defense counsel, failure to explain missing evidence, selective disclosure only after being called out, improperly deciding for himself what counts as exculpatory. So a lot has changed since February. And then also I forgot to mention what's next. Some notes I put together for you. Okay. So what's after this filing? The Indiana Attorney General will file the appellee's brief responding to Allen's claims. They will argue the search warrant was valid, the confessions were voluntary, any trial errors were harmless. This typically happens 30 to 45 days after the appellant's brief is filed. So we got about 30 to 45 days before we hear the rebuttal, and we'll do a live stream on that as well. Allen can file a reply brief. After the state responds, Allen's attorneys may file a reply brief. This is optional, but likely in a case of this magnitude. It directly rebuts the state's arguments. No new evidence, only legal argument. The Court of Appeals reviews the case. Once briefing is complete, a 3-judge panel of the Indiana Court of Appeals reviews the trial record, all briefs, constitutional claims. No new testimony is taken. Most cases are decided on the briefs alone, usually several months after briefing is complete. So we have some time here. So we have 30 to 45 days before the Attorney General replies, and then Rick can reply even after that. And then once that's all complete, then we got to wait on these judges. Usually several months after briefing is complete. Possible oral arguments, not guaranteed. The court may schedule oral arguments if it believes the case raises novel constitutional issues, the record is complex or legally significant. This is not automatic, but this case has multiple factors that increase the odds. Fourth Amendment search issues, solitary confinement and coerced confessions, right to present a defense claims. Those definitely aren't valid, right? The stuff with the Odinism and all that, there's no nexus there. All right, Court of Appeals decision, the court will issue a written opinion. Outcomes include affirmed, convictions at 130-year sentence stand. Allen remains in IDOC custody. Could be reversed in part. Some evidence like confessions or search evidence ruled inadmissible. Could lead to a new trial or remand for hearings. Could even be reversed. Convictions overturned, case sent back to trial, often for a new trial. Remand for a Franks hearing. Trial court ordered to examine whether police lied or omitted facts. Could later result in suppression of key evidence. After the Court of Appeals ruling, no matter the outcome, more steps are possible. If Allen loses, he can ask the Indiana Supreme Court to take the case transfer petition. The Supreme Court accepts very few cases, but this one raises issues they may want to review. If Allen wins, the state can also seek Indiana Supreme Court review, or the case goes back to the trial court under the appellate ruling. Longer term options. If the state appeal fails, post-conviction relief in the state court, federal habeas corpus, maybe years down the line, civil litigation related to confinement condition, separate from guilt. But the bottom line, nothing changes immediately for Allen's custody. The case is in a slow, paper-driven appellate phase. The biggest near-term risk to the conviction is the search warrant, solitary confinement confessions. And that's why we focused in on that, you guys, today, because that's what the appeal is focusing in on, the search warrant and the solitary confinement. They're not really focusing too much on the third-party suspects and that kind of thing. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We're out of here. Let's go ahead and hit the track here. Shout out to Chief making this cool song. Tonight we have the first episode of Truth Intuition Live. Don't miss it. We have a special guest, Luther Vandross. Missy Beaver's case expert will be with us tonight. I'll see you there.
That truth. They feeding us lies from our childhood youth. But Patrick, he leading the way with a flashlight, exposing the darkness and bringing the light. Through intuition, he got that vision. No harming him aloud, just like a shout it out. Through intuition, he got that vision. No harming him aloud, just like shout it loud. They try to divide us with their silly schemes, break up our squad, break up all of our dreams, but we stick together, strong and true. Sleuth crew coming for you.